Gracious and Holy One, thank you for the opportunity to be with one another in unconventional ways. Thank you for your steady and ongoing presence with us in this time. May this time that we offer now to you be a gift of gratitude. May it be a gift of gratitude for community and for all the ways in which you continue to show up, pointing us forward. We give over this time to you, all of our hearts, O God, that through our meditations and reflections, you would be reflected in love. Amen. Friends, I want to share with you that it has been an intensive week. I'm sure that it has been the same for you for all of the reasons that we could now name. As I look out at your faces, I know that you are going through unique and challenging times yourself for one and other reasons. I wanted to relate a little bit of a story that had happened to me on Friday as I determined that we needed to go to the grocery store. We had tried to do an online order and had been unsuccessful. And so early in the morning, I decided now's the time, I'm gonna do it. And so I tried to be as prepared as possible. I put on my jacket. I had even my little flip kind of neck thing that you can put over your face, you know, for an emergency kind of like mask situation. I had the gloves in the car. I had an alcohol wipe that I could put in my pocket. And I was determined that I'd go to the closest grocery store and do it as quickly as possible in order to get back, as my husband needed to start work and I needed to be with the kids. So anyway, I found myself at the nearest grocery store, which was Whole Foods. And as I was at Whole Foods, I got out of the car, again, had all my equipment all ready to go. And I got up and I was told right at the door that it was senior shopping. And they said only people from before 1960. And I am all about senior shopping. I'm so glad that they are doing that so that people that need that extra time and need that space because of the risk of infection have their time. However, in that moment, it was hard news to receive. So I got back in the car and I went over to the Giant over at Dorsey Search, right? And I got out. Again, I had all my stuff going. I was good. You know, I was a little flustered. I determined that senior shopping was earlier at Giant, so I was okay. I got to the parking lot, and as I got out of the car, I went and felt my pockets, and there was no wallet there. So I'm here in the Giant parking lot feeling terribly frustrated, no wallet, determined it has to either be in the Giant parking lot, in the Whole Foods parking lot, or my house. And so I got back in the car, went back to my house because that's on the way. And as I opened the door, Jay rounded the corner and said, "Here, Mom, I found this." And it was my wallet. And I was so thankful that it had just dropped out when I was at home, and this jacket I don't use, just this wallet was right there. And I received that with such a sigh, just what I needed it when I needed it. And I took that in and I thought I could just stay here. I didn't realize how much energy it was just to get out and get into that public space. And I was frazzled and I could just go on being at home. But I felt the nudge. It was a spirit's nudge, and it just says, this is hard. Go anyway. So there I trudge back to the Giant. I get out out of the parking lot and go into the store thinking, okay, there's got to be something that I need to encounter here, something of the spirit's nudge as I collect all this food. And there, a frequent attender of KC, I saw near the potato aisle. And I called out her name. And what a gift it was just to be across from someone like that. Now she, in hearing me, came over wanting to give me a hug immediately. And I had to step back. And she caught herself. And it was in that moment that we acknowledged one another and also acknowledged this hard reality we face. It is so hard, and we're going through it anyway. I would have liked nothing better right there by the onions and the potatoes to engulf her in a huge hug, just as I would like to be able to reach out and offer a healing touch to you as you would do so for me. And so we are offering the healing touch this morning as we are, knowing that we're called into these unusual spaces, whether the grocery store or there at your neighborhood, some encounter in which the Spirit is saying, this is so hard, let's go anyway. I believe, friends, that God's strength is with us and available to us in this time. And we do have a choice about how we will continue to go. Into these places of unknown, we have the choice about how we're going to be in our spirits as we go along the way. Needing ongoing refueling, such as our Sabbath worship opportunity comes to us. Each and every week we come to worship because we know that it's a part of the filling that we need in order to see through the challenges that are yet to come. Now we can be as prepared as possible in this time, and we can still end up feeling ill-equipped, as I did in the parking lot. We can follow all the protocol and find ourselves scrambling to face each new next moment. We can have all the masks and gloves and stay as far away as possible, but our humanity will mean that this time is hard. Our weaknesses are exposed. People we know may get sick. We may get sick. Our brokenness is undeniable. The crisis is real as people lose jobs, essential workers are in harm's way, and as we self-isolate. But here we are, trying to give the best gift we can at this time, our distance. We talk of this important curve out there so that we won't overwhelm the health system. We need to keep remembering that by staying at home, we are giving ourselves over to a future in which we hope more people will thrive and live in the time to come. We know brokenness, and by staying home, we are seeking to ease the pain and suffering of our communities. This is the gift we have to give now in these unique times. In some cases, these new precautions and distancing reveals new cracks. You've seen them, I know, glimmers of friendship and reconnection, or slowing down and being still. Meals over Zoom, as I know many of you participated in. Game nights, dancing in front of the computer, long walks in the changing spring weather. As Teresa shared with us last week, even the brokenness will reveal the beauty. And we know that this time of emotional strain has the potential to put us back in touch with the most challenging previous seasons of our lives. Not only the hardship, but also the resilience that has enabled us to keep going through every season. This is hard. Can we hear the Spirit nudging us? Let's go anyway. We recall in the season of Lent an ongoing path. I think on the days that Jesus didn't want to take steps closer to Jerusalem in the epicenter of crisis. I think of the disciples who heard Jesus' foretelling of death and followed him anyway. With the comforts of our physical church on hold, perhaps we are even more in a position to follow and to give of ourselves. I'd seen something on Facebook, perhaps you saw it, that just said, this is the Lentiest of Lents, right? This is the time in which we can be so in touch with what it means to have wilderness and to have fasting. What is it that God would continue to be teaching us on the way? To follow through our brokenness. Because sometimes the farthest we can travel is while we never leave home. It is on our inward journeys in this season that we are beckoning for inward attention. And we find ourselves inside with the patterns of our best and perhaps also our worst selves. In my confession moment, I have been siphoning off the baking chocolate chips in the pantry after the kids go to bed. Just putting it out there. Whatever you do to cope with your pain, whatever it is that you do in order to confront and be alongside and move through your suffering, we know that this connection to our pain as a people, as individuals, but also as the people church, will help see us in and through and on the other side of this pandemic. And it is an untouchedness with our blessing and pain that will prepare us for what is yet coming. It prepares us to give ourselves in ways that we could never have anticipated before. In the absence right now physically, we find the strength to go anyway. each of us into our days, holding each other on heart into these virtual and non-virtual spaces. Yesterday, as Jay was coming in from being outside, he just said, "Mom, I want to go to real church. I want to go to real church." He repeated it this morning when he was about to do some Sunday school lesson with his dad. "I want to go to real church." And then he started talking about big old snacks, big cinnamon rolls and big donuts. I think I hear the heart of his message here. It is hard not to be able to go where I can play and feel loved by others. Something that many of us feel at this time, where we are most fed by big donuts and where we can be bread for one another. For that's what Nowin tells us. We are made to be given to one another and to be bread for each other and for the world. We have this hard invitation now to be where we are and to recall that God is as much in our homes as in our houses of worship, in as much in the food we would like to share with each other as in the sacrifice when we can't engage in our normal things. We have this time to remind us that real church on Sunday morning in our building is the same as the Spirit of Christ that is embracing every moment in every place, including this one, as we are in all of our homes. We may have to look harder in the time ahead, but the fruit of this time will prepare us for the reunion that will eventually be ours, friends. I wanted to share with you the last bit of my time in the Giant. I had seen that person who attends KC, and then I continued out throughout the store. And then God opened up one of those cracks that we were talking about, a piece of brokenness. For as I was wheeling along by the bread aisle, I saw him. I saw the man who had continually flipped me off and given me the middle finger on the corner. I'd read about this in my blog a couple of months ago, and I had started to know his face over time. He'd given me the middle finger and then eventually had stopped giving me the middle finger, and I'd always kind of wondered why that was. As my beloved class met several weeks ago, I told them that I'd always wondered what would happen if he came and confronted me on the corner and had anything to say to me, and what would I say in return. I could not anticipate that there would be a pandemic and we would be across from each other in the grocery aisle. I'd like to say that I had the nerve to talk to him in that moment, but I didn't. I wasn't 100% sure it was him, but I was. I told myself that this was such a strange occurrence and we were supposed to keep our distance, that this wouldn't be the time to talk to him. But I nonetheless felt the opening then and there. That thing that had said, "This is hard, go anyway. Go to the store. This is hard, be present to that person anyway, even though you can't give them that hug. And now again, this is hard. Here's the man who gave you the finger, and now you are wheeling by him." I feel like there are uncomfortable things and people on our radars we might not expect in the time ahead. And we have this opportunity ongoingly, as the blessing would break through, to admit the brokenness of what it feels, a rejection from someone else, or inner rejection, the self-critique that comes, and those patterns we have at home. And the next time, I do pray the next time that this man is across from me, that out of a tenderness and compassion, I can be present to him in a way that I will be more prepared for along the way. Friends, he's one of our neighbors on our block for our church. He's going to continually be passing that building that is empty for now, but not empty for always. How will we continue to reach out of who we are and our comfort that we gain of what it means to move through the brokenness in order to give ourselves for others? I offer this up to you now, knowing that we've got a time yet before us, that we will be having Palm Sunday and having Holy Week and Easter in ways that we would not have anticipated. As we do, keep touching base and coming back. As we take heart, be sure to go to Zoom calls or care groups or other places in which you can name the blessings and the brokenness that you're experiencing. Because I think, as I had shared a couple of weeks ago, there are going to be so many blessings that we need to celebrate with one another as we prepare to be back with one another. For now, friends, in those hard places, whatever they might be, can you hear the Spirit nudging? This is hard. Let's go anyway.